Greetings, Earthlings. Today I am back with a review of the Seiko SRPE67, also known as the DressKX. The reason for the name DressKX is that this is a successor to the Seiko SKX line, which was an incredibly popular dive watch, and they have shrunk down the case a little bit to 40 millimeters, and they have removed the dive time bezel, which gives it a little bit more of a dressy look, because dive watches typically aren't going to be what you see in a boardroom. If you don't know what an automatic watch is, first I should provide a very brief explanation of what a mechanical watch is. That is essentially, it does not have a battery in it. It has a movement, which is a set of gears and springs that powers the watch and keeps the time. An automatic watch means you do not have to manually wind the watch at the crown, which is what you used to have to do. On the rear of this watch, you can see through this display caseback that there is this rotor, and as I rotate the watch around, you can see that bit of metal that is actually rotating, and that is going to be winding up the spring and powering the watch. So as long as you're wearing this on your wrist and moving about, the watch is going to be charged up by the movement of your wrist. Now, I also want to point out that this is the SRPE67, and this comes on a NATO strap. I have replaced it with a tropical rubber strap from B&R Straps. I just really like tropical rubber straps. You can also get this in the SRPE57, and that comes on a metal bracelet, but there is also a difference in the finishing on the watch, and the SRPE57 on the metal bracelet will have a high polish bezel around the face, so it will look a little bit more flashy and a little bit more like a dress watch. This has a brushed bezel, which makes it seem a little bit more subdued, a little bit less flashy, and a little bit more everyday. Now let's talk about the build quality of this watch. The entire case is made out of a stainless steel, and you have a crown at 4 o'clock, which unfortunately is not a screw-down crown. Also, the crown is not going to be signed, meaning it does not have the manufacturer's logo on it. It is just a completely blank crown. The watch with the B&R tropical strap on it comes in at 76 grams. As far as the case size, we're at about 39.25 millimeters. The thickness of the watch comes in at 12 millimeters. The lug-to-lug measurement comes in at 44 millimeters. The lug width comes in at 19.8 or 20 millimeters, so it's going to be a 20 millimeter strap replacement. And the watch does have drilled lugs to make changing of the straps significantly easier. Then as far as water resistance, due to the lack of a screw-down crown, it is reduced down to 100 meters or 330 feet. You're not going to be diving with it, but for everyday use, that is perfectly sufficient. The crystal on this is hardlex, so again, it's not going to be as strong as a sapphire crystal, but it's going to be relatively scratch resistant. And if you're at all worried about this, this watch is made in Japan. Then as far as the features of this watch features the Seiko 4R36 movement, which is 24 joules, 41-hour power reserve, meaning you can fully wind this and then set it down for almost 2 days, put it back on your wrist, and you won't have to reset it. It beats at 21,600 beats per hour, so you will get a pretty smooth, sweeping seconds hand, especially when you compare it to quartz. There are going to be smoother seconds hands once you get to 28,000 or a high beat movement. Now, if you don't know what I mean by a sweeping seconds hand, as you can see on the right, we have the Seiko, and the seconds hand is moving fluidly around the dial. On the right-hand side, we have a quartz watch, and the seconds hand is just doing a tick, 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 tick once every second. The Seiko, the automatic, is moving a number of times every single second, so it gives you the illusion of a more smooth and sweeping second hand. Then as far as the accuracy of this movement, I found it to be about plus 10 seconds a day when I was wearing it for a couple of weeks. I do always prefer the watch to run a little bit quick. That way, it's really easy to fix. All you would do is hack, meaning you pull out the crown, the second hand stops, and then you wait a couple of seconds, push it back in, and then the time on the watch is accurate again. But then as far as general features, it isn't really a complex watch. When we start looking at more mechanical pieces, a lot of them lack a lot of the complications that we were looking at on the digital watches. This has a non-screw down crown, so you're not going to get that really depth-rated watch. It's not going to be the best in terms of water resistance. I did mention that it is a hacking movement, so you can set it accurately. You just pull it out to the second position, pull out the crown to the second position, the second hand stops, and then you can synchronize the watch to another time source, whether it be the atomic clock or anything like that. Additionally, with the crown in the first position, you have a quick set day date, and you have the day in 2 languages. You would go the other direction to set the date on the watch. And as a reminder, you do not want to set the day or the date while the watch is anywhere between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. because sometimes that will actually damage the movement. So if you're at that time, you will want to go ahead and move the watch forward so it's past that time. I set it to 10 a.m. so I didn't have to worry about that. But it has quick set day and quick set date. And now let's go ahead and see about the lume on this watch to see how it would perform if you're reading the time at night. And there is the lume. You can see that the hour and the minute hand has plenty of lume. You do have an orientating triangle at 12 o'clock. And the second hand even has a little bit of lume at the end of it. A little bit of a lollipop there. And in case any of you are wondering, here is how the watch looks on my 7 1/4 inch wrist. You can tell that the short 44 millimeter lug to lug really fits well on my wrist. Doesn't overhang at all. It just fits perfectly. I'll go ahead and rotate around. Of course, this is not the default stock strap. This is the B&R Tropical Rubber. I just really like this type of material on this type of watch. But now let's get to the more subjective portion where I share my opinion. As far as pros, I think the dimensions of this thing are the main appeal. The 44.6 millimeter lug to lug is amazing for the majority of wrist sizes. For 7 1/4, it is just perfect. Also, the look of this thing is absolutely gorgeous. It's simple. It's not flashy. It is subdued. It is great for an everyday watch. And I don't know what it is about the case shape, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of a UFO. And as a bit of a sci-fi guy, I absolutely love that. I also enjoy the drilled lugs. That just makes changing out the straps a lot easier. And if somebody is newer to mechanical timepieces or automatic watches, the inclusion of the display case back is awesome because I know when I got my first automatic watch, which was a Seiko 5, I kept looking through the back of it just amazed at how many little moving pieces there were in it and that it didn't take any battery. It was just the movement of the rotor that made the thing work. Really, I'm glad that they included that, and I think that'll be a great addition for anybody who's newer to mechanical watches. But of course, there are going to be some cons as well. First one being the crown. I really dislike the fact that it is not a screw-down crown. I don't think that would have been difficult. If I'm not mistaken, the SKXs had a screw-down crown and a 200-meter water resistance. This is a lower water resistance, and you lose that screw-down crown. Kind of a bummer. On the note of the crown, you do have a plain unsigned crown if that at all matters to you. It's not the biggest deal for me. I do know some people are really bothered by that though. And as far as the accuracy, 10 seconds a day for a mechanical timepiece isn't out of the ordinary. And if it's running a little bit fast, as I mentioned, it's really easy to fix that just by hacking, pulling the watch crown out to the second position, holding, and then pushing it back in. I just wanted to point that out. If you're looking for dead-on chronometer, stopwatch accuracy, this may not be the best bet. You're going to have to be spending a lot more money to get that type of +1, +2 seconds a day. So as far as my conclusion, I think that for an everyday or maybe a beater watch, it's really a compelling option because you get this amazing case size, one of the most useful complications to have on a watch, meaning the day-date complication, and it just looks incredible. It's not at a price point where you would be terribly concerned about it being broken, but it's not going to be a throwaway $10 F91W. I think this is a great stepping stone to jump from the lower, more affordable watches if you want to start to get in to the mechanical and automatic watches. So to wrap up, would I recommend the Seiko DressKX, the SRPE67? Yes and no. I think for $275, you can get some amazing quartz watches. This is the Dan Henry 1962? The 1962. I got sex on the brain, I guess. Now this video got throttled by YouTube. This is the Dan Henry 1962. This is a Mecca quartz watch, and I think this is one of the best looking watches that I have. It's got mixes of a Speedy, a Daytona. I love it. This is $275, and it is going to be a lot more accurate than the Seiko. But if you're looking to get into more mechanical watches and automatic watches, and you want a watch that's made in Japan from a powerhouse of affordable watches, then I think the SRPE67 and all the other SKUs, the DressKX line, is an incredible option. I even like this thing so much that I bought one for my brother and my father as well, because I thought they would get a kick out of having a mechanical watch of this quality as well, and they wouldn't be too concerned about beating it up, throwing it around, going swimming in the ocean, or doing some DIY stuff. Well, there you go. I think that's all that I have to say about the SRPE67 from Seiko. This thing is awesome. I would love to hear from you in the comments. What do you like about these videos? What do you think I need to improve on? I haven't decided if I want to get a macro lens to really dive in and look at the intricacies of the watches that I'm reviewing. I know a lot of channels do that. I'm always more of a utilitarian kind of guy. Here's what it looks like with your eyeballs. Can you notice anything wrong with it? Can you tell the time? Good. But I know a lot of the more horologically sound people are going to want to look at the minutia of the watch. So let me know if you think going and getting a macro lens would be beneficial, or if there's any kind of information you think that I'm missing from these reviews. But if you enjoyed it or found it interesting, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you hated it, go ahead and give me a thumbs down and tell me what you didn't like. And I guess I will talk to you in a week or so. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.